welcome to my thoughts on Arrow Season 1, Episode 9, Year's End. The episode is rated TV 14, so will this video be? There will be spoilers for the episode and all the ones leading up to it. Another episode I loved. If this video ends abruptly, it's because I had to stop recording because there is technically a warning about thunder, but like I just checked that the clouds look fine. But sometimes these videos go on for a while, so I guess we'll see. Let's see. So we're gonna try to do this chronologically. So yeah, right off the bat, I like that there's been an episode or two where Oliver perhaps didn't get to a name on the list. Now we're told, oh, he got 3 off screen. So and IMDb trivia tries to figure out because Felicity says 7 people, and we didn't see 7, but if you can't, I think it works out the way that they counted it up. Let's see. I think the really cool training. They say you shouldn't play with knives. And I do agree. Kids, don't try this at home. But yeah, I like the thing. He, Nick's dig, and another round. No. Let's see the yeah, and we're told he went kind of hyper on the list after Helena left, which. Yeah, I can 100% believe that. And I appreciate, I love when shows do this, actually have, like, consequences, after effects to something major, instead of just having it and then moving on and pretending like it hadn't happened. Let's see, I think the, oh, right, I think, yeah. We're already not completely chronological, because I think the opening was actually Adam Hunt being taken out, which was also great. This thing, he's like, oh, you're back, come back for another pound of flesh. Someone working on this really likes Shakespeare, and I'm here for it. And yeah, like the moment that the arrows kill, like we, the audience, are like, no way, that's Oliver, But that does, of course, bring up who is it? And yeah, the answer did not disappoint. I did on account of the flashbacks and the previously on. I was trying to figure out, like, I gotta say, for a chunk of this episode, I figured Deathstroke. And I was trying to figure out, are they, I'm pretty sure we're supposed to be guessing either Deathstroke or, and I felt like it's probably not, and now I forgot how to pronounce it, so I'm gonna say the Island Mentor. Yeah, and yeah, ultimately it didn't turn out to be either. I'm afraid I forget his name, but yeah, Tommy's dad. Yeah, I think that does bring us to let's see, we have the bit where yeah, the thing about Christmas, and Oliver's like, well, on the island we didn't really celebrate any day other than How Do I Survive Day, which was every day, which, yeah, there are people who do not exactly celebrate, but experience that every day, but they're not rich and white, so I do appreciate the yeah. I think that brings us nicely to, but yeah, it is like I do appreciate him wanting to celebrate and have his family try to make his family happy and such. I always feel bad doing this. I'm what, like almost 5 minutes, 5 months. Wow, time units. Almost 5 months too early for this episode, but yeah, here we are. I think, and I do appreciate that about Christmas, that it can really bring families together, as holidays in general can. Not only Christmas, not only the Christian ones. I think, does that more or less get us to... So yeah, Oliver joins the dinner. I like the thing about, I always won. You cheated. But yeah, important dinner. And Oliver tries to stay out of the whole thing by just saying, maybe he needs another nickname. And Tommy's dad, Mr. Merlin, wow, me and names today, recently in general. He's like, I'm gonna sick Archie on you if you don't participate in this conversation. And he suggests Green Arrow, which Oliver, at least for now, is not very happy with. And then the, let's see. We have the bit where the cop shows up and talks to the other, cop at the table. If one were to go by American media, I'm pretty sure people get pulled away from, like, get-togethers more often than an entire get-together passes without anyone getting pulled away from it. Like, after a while, it starts feeling like, oh, there's a get-together in this piece of American media. I wonder who's going to get pulled away and for what. And I think that does bring us... Oh, right, yeah. Felicity calling. How felicitacious? Is that how you say it? Yeah, and the thing about, so, I don't know. Was that important or not? She's so great. And yeah, one can understand why yeah. I feel bad for Walter. He genuinely is just trying to do the right thing. He's just in over his head, I think... Does that pretty well get us to the... Yeah, I quite liked Detective Lance pointing out this really doesn't look like Arrow, because, he's not necessarily Arrow's... He didn't found the Arrow fan club, but he still, he tries to be, a good person. Or I suppose a good cop, which I don't think you can be both at the same time. Okay, fair enough. If cops were good, they would also be good people. Let's see. I think the... what was the next scene? I think maybe with... right, I have... yeah, let's go with... so yeah, Tommy goes to the Lance resident, and the moment he sees Detective Lance, he, like, shakes his hand, says, Merry Christmas, sir, how are you? And, like, it's, I've talked about that on this channel before. A lot of fathers are protective of their daughters. A lot of cops are protective of their families. Fathers of daughters who are cops, the father, not necessarily the daughter, yeah, they get super protective. So yeah, implied threat. That's yeah, and yeah, Laurel is like, sorry about that, and yeah, she does say, she, Christmas is time she tries to spend with her dad, not him, not Tommy. And, he had this picture framed that has the three of them, the Lances, the Lance-a-lots. And that is genuinely very sweet, and shows that he cares. And again, I appreciate, like, Detective Lance sometimes can be a bit of an antagonist on the show, but they do also give him very human moments. You know, he genuinely is moved by this gesture. And not to a bigger house. And, but yeah, the thing about, you know, Oliver's throwing the Christmas party, I would love for you to be my plus one, you know, and I think that pretty well gets, yeah, also the fact that, you know, yeah, when Oliver talks to Thea and is like, did you cancel Christmas? Like, why is there no party being planned? And you know, her explanation holds up, and he points out, well, if you stopped because I was gone, then we might as well resume now that I'm back. And you know, the thing about, yeah, he meets Shane, which yeah, he really doesn't take to Shane, especially after, you know, he asks Thea, what are you doing with him, and she's like, oh, we're going somewhere that has bikers, big bikers. I'm not sure if I should finish that line. Well, that movie was PG-13. I'm gonna move on. I think it's enough for you to get the reference if you've watched that movie. um but yeah, the let's see, we have the yeah, the you know, another person is killed, you know. I almost feel bad that we didn't get to see very much of this guy. I don't know how much cartoon villainy he had in him, but I wouldn't mind seeing it. But yeah, you know, Detective Lance, you know, he is not super comfortable about pretending that this was Arrow. So he's off the case, handing his badge and gun, loose cannon. And the that's a really good. I really like when Lindsay Ellis did the loose cannon, but I have also really liked her recent stuff, the Nebula exclusives. And yeah, you know, it's on the news, and yeah, you know, Laurel and Detective discuss it, and you know, they have the thing, well, you said he was a monster, he was protecting me, that was different, you know. And yeah, she feels confident that he did not do this, he did not murder him. And I think that might be, man, that movie was a disappointment. Anyway, read the book, and the Harlan Ellison unfilmed script. They're freaking amazing. But you know, in general, like, I've never, every time I pick up, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Crap. Okay, the guy who came up with the 3 laws of robotics, you know. Yeah, every time I've picked up a book of his, I have not been able to put it down until I read the entire thing. He's absolutely amazing. R.I.P. R.I.P. for Harlan Ellison as well. Anyway, let's see, the but yeah, I really appreciate, and yeah, Detective actually helps, you know, and because of his helping Arrow, you know, the hostages are freed. And it is genuinely clever because, yeah, you know, he had the arrow. He can easily get the arrow. Again, love how economic the show is. There's so much going on. We don't have to see, you know, because, like, we get it. Yeah, he went into evidence lockup, I think they called it. You know, checked out the you know, I mean, all he, because, like, if the evidence guy doesn't know that he's, or wait, do they have a person, or can you just walk in? I forget how it's supposed to. Anyway, you know, he got the arrow, went to the place, you know, left one of the arrows there, and you know, like, if he didn't have to talk to a person to check it out, it's not going to get noticed. And if it does get noticed, I presume he would just say, you know, I had a hunch, I had to follow up on it. I got, knocked out by someone. I don't know. One of the archers, I guess, and they stole the arrow. That works. Because it could be either, Arrow looking for the copycat or the original archer wanting the evidence back. And when that was also, yeah, okay, yeah, I gotta talk about, okay, so Oliver goes to um, Felicity, and at first I was like, why'd you go to IT for that? You just wanted another Felicity scene, didn't you? You're getting, I don't want to say greedy, because she's adorkable. She's great. But you already had, a scene earlier. But yeah, eventually he does get to the, can you look up, on your computer where you found. And the thing about, she's sitting there, she's looking at the names, which... I really hope nothing bad happens to her. But the thing, don't you knock? It's the IT department. And yeah, the thing about he's getting really into archery. I guess it's becoming kind of, a thing. They couldn't make fetch a thing, but they did make archery a thing. And she just cannot help put her foot in her mouth. I don't know why. It looks ridiculous. But Oliver has to stand there and like poker face through it, because internally he's like, it doesn't look ridiculous. It looks awesome. Have you not watched the show? They do montages of me firing arrows. But yeah. He gets the address and goes there, and we realized just before Oliver did that was a trap, because for one thing, why would you use such specific custom arrows if you weren't trying to get found by someone, and he figures it's gonna be Arrow. Although, I mean, the bomb he left could have taken out cops as well. But I think he was hoping that it would be Arrow, and that Arrow would make it out of there. He wants to see who's best, like he says. And yeah. I mean, consider if that really is like the big thing that he really badly wants to get out of it, dude, go to Nottingham and start like an archery tournament, Would Oliver have to dress up twice for that? Anyway, but the I like the line about Robin Hood was he's stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. That's the Democrats' job. Wow, just yeah. That does sound like something rich people would chuckle about at a fancy dinner. Let's see. Then we have the what's the other thing? Yeah, he gets out. Someone on IMDb trivia already noted the similarity to the scene in Batman Begins, so I won't. But yeah, he manages to get out, and great fireball explosion, really really cool. And yeah, he Dig takes care of him. And let's see, I think that pretty well gets us to, let's see, yeah, the conversations between Mr. Merlin and Moira were also great. Really love the tension there. And this thing, you were warned. We told you this is what would happen if Walter kept snooping. And she also keeps trying to talk Walter out of it. Let's see. I think obviously I gotta talk about the big scene. Yeah, I like Tommy the three of them at the Christmas party, and Laurel talking about Oliver is why she's holding back with Tommy, which makes sense and is compelling. I'm very, very emotionally invested in what happens to these. Yeah. I think that might bring us to. I feel like there's at least one more thing other than the big action climax, but I can't quite. Let's see. Maybe the. Okay. In case maybe I'll think of it, but we definitely got to talk about. So yeah, he took it to the next level. He took hostages, and one of them reads the message saying "Happy Holidays." So yeah, obviously the evil archer was going to be woke. That was also, I really appreciate, Oliver said, Merry Christmas to Felicity, and she's like, I'm Jewish, and he just goes, Happy Hanukkah. It's just very nice. Yeah, and also, you're remarkable. Thank you for remarking that. That was a little smoother than she usually is, but it was also a layup of a response there. Let's see. Then we have the Yes, right. The big yeah. So the action. Yeah. The cops are there, but they haven't been able to get in because of there's all these explosives, and yeah, Oliver fires the arrow, zip lines in, frees the hostages, um, and he says I'll take care of him, and at first he can't quite find the other archer, and then we see the other archer at the end of this narrow hallway. Again, such I love the evocative and striking imagery of this show. And yeah, that's such a cool, because they're at opposite ends of this really narrow, so it's like you can't really duck. There's you can fire arrows at each other, and who's gonna come out on top there. So they do manage to like duck, outside of the bounds of this narrow hallway. But yeah, and the yeah, some great fighting, and the bit with Oliver above, and then the reflection reveals him. So and I also really appreciate, again, that's something I love about this show. Oliver does sometimes actually get hurt. Like he'll fight a bunch of people that he can easily take out, but every so often he goes up against someone who could actually stop him. And yeah, some really cool stuff there. And yeah, the fact that Oliver didn't stop Merlin, and he didn't find out that it was Merlin, which also, like, okay, so now we know he's good with a bow and arrow. We know he's good at fencing. He's a contender. He could really be a major threat to Oliver, and they are already like opposing, so yeah, very cool. Look forward to seeing more of him. Let's see, but yeah, he did manage to free the hostages, so it wasn't like a complete loss. And yeah, now he knows there's someone out there who is really, really a major threat to him. And yeah, let's see. I think, yeah, he wakes up in the hospital bed, and there's some people here to see you, and they think that there was it was like an accident, instead of what actually happened. And it is kind of nice to think of, you made the party so that we could all to bring the family closer together, and here we are. I mean, I don't want to put too fine a point on it, Oliver, but maybe you should get hurt more often. And the thing with, you know, she brought the candy canes, you know, no cheating. And let's see, yeah, also great when he talks to Dig afterwards, you know, about how threatening that, you know, yeah. But yeah, the flashbacks, fantastic, and I genuinely wasn't sure if it was going to end with Oliver actually killing, you know, the officer. Let's go with that. And yeah, you know, the thing about you left me here for days. I ran out of food and water. Holy crap! Just yeah. And he gets, you know, some water, and then, you know, the yeah, he sees the officer and slugs him, and the mentor is like, hey, ho, whoa, use this, you know, because like he's not really, the mentor doesn't really do anything halfway, you know. It's like, dude, it's going to take forever. You might as well come at him with a wiffle bat. And let's see, you know, if you're not properly armed for equipped for this situation, then we have the but yeah, you know, he starts to, you know, he's supposed to take him there to, you know, to the plane, and, you know, we get some backstory. So cool that, yeah, it actually used to be a prison for, you know, the worst of the worst, and, you know, his men came in and killed everyone except two. One of them's the mentor, and the other one's Deathstroke. Just like, holy crap. So yeah, and I do buy, you know, based on the comics I've read, 100%. If you know, they were trying to kill Deathstroke and he was putting up quite a fight, and they were like, you know what? Hey, see if he wants a job. Yeah, he probably would be like, sure thing. You know, just like, he mostly just hurts people. But the yeah, you know, they get some of the way there, and he's like, no, don't worry, the plane's nearby. And so are my men. Didn't you realize how easy I was to capture? Holy crap! He did a really great job, because he genuinely seemed like he was like scared of what would happen here. But yeah, the very nicely done, and we get another incredible fight between Deathstroke and the mentor, and, you know, Oliver just has to run away because what's he gonna do? And they manage to capture the mentor, and that's, yeah, they do a really great job on the cliffhangers for these flashbacks. I can hardly wait to see what happens next, because I don't know what exactly does. I mean, essentially I know that he ends up with the cloak and the bow and arrow, but I don't know what the mentor's fate is. Just his stuff and his kit. But the yeah, what's the other thing? I think. Yeah, great to see Deathstroke using the sword, or a sword. I forget if that's exactly what it looks like in the comic, but that's one of my, you know, I'm a sword nerd. Sorta a nerd and a sword nerd. And I think that does bring us to, yeah, let's see. The I feel like there's at least one other thing. Right. I have noticed that they use the B word, the one that usually refers to a female dog, a lot in relation to Thea. It doesn't strike me as the show being misogynist so much as just, like, you know, acknowledging, and this is, you know, regardless of gender, sometimes teenagers can be kind of terrible. She is 17, you know, and that's, yeah, some 17-year-olds do act like that. Yeah. I think oh, right, the thing with, you know, I do what anyone does when they need help. I'm gonna call a cop. Wow. Tell me you're white and well off without telling me you're white and well off. Holy crap. I think that does bring us to, yeah, let's see. I think, yeah, right, the thing with, you know, Shane, you know, shows up and, like, you know, Thea invited me. I hope that's okay. 10 seconds and starting some crap. And you know, he brings the flowers to Moira, and, you know, she's like, I'll go put them in water. Salt water. And yeah, it was nice when, you know, let's take a Christmas, you know, yeah, let's take a photo of just the four of us, you know. And I like Thea's little, you know, eye roll kind of thing. And I think that does pretty well bring us to the, yeah, what was the other thing that I wanted to make sure to say? While I think, I definitely wanted to mention, you know, again, really like, you know, Tommy, you know, the gradual, you know, evolution of the relationship between Tommy and Laurel, and him trying to be better. And it is, again, like, you know, yeah, he wants to spend time with her, and, you know, it's not just this, like, the selfish thing. He genuinely wants to make her happy, you know, and like, you know, the framed photo, that's pretty selfless, you know, like, you would have thought that he would have picked a photo that he was in, you know. And that was also the thing about, you know, right before Detective sees that photo, he's like, oh, you gotta avoid, you know, people like Queen and Merlin, you know, they, you know, they feel like they can step on anyone. And then he sees this really kind gesture, which, you know, yeah, I could appreciate, because it's this thing of, like, Detective has been right about a lot of things, you know, and a lot of the time, perhaps most of the time, he is right about, you know, talking that way about rich white people, especially men. Yeah, yeah, in part the show is about redemption, and, you know, both Tommy and Oliver are really, really trying, you know, so I appreciate that being acknowledged there. I think that might pretty well bring us to, I feel like there's something else that I wanted to talk about. Felicity and Walter on the phone, and, you know, he's like, well, I'm going into an elevator, but I'll call you right back. And, you know, don't tell someone you'll call them right back, because you won't. It's the rules of a slasher. And, yeah, he gets knocked out, and, yeah. That was also, they said that Oliver had a concussion. Do they call it that because it can happen if you get conked in the head? And let's see, I think that pretty well brings us to, right. So I definitely do want to briefly discuss. So yeah, Oliver goes to Thea's room. I mean, at least they were gonna do it in her room instead of someone else's. That's not nothing. And, you know, he, yeah, doesn't wait for an answer. You know, let's see, did he knock? He certainly didn't wait for an answer. You know, he walks in on them, and he's like, "What's going on here?" Looks like TV-14 equivalent of sex. And, yeah, he is quite furious with Shane. You know, at this rate, he's going to have to, like, somehow entrap Shane into, you know, white collar crime just so he can go after him as Arrow. There were a couple of things that I liked. The fact that, you know, again, we don't do male gaze because there's no reason for it. You know, there's some, you know, it's also, you know, again with the age rating, they're not going to show an awful lot of skin, but you know they showed just enough that it was clear what was, you know, about to happen there. I guess Oliver, try to see it. Try to see the silver lining here. If you were on an R-rated or a TVMA show, what you would have walked in on would have required therapy. But yeah, you know, we see just enough, and you know, she immediately covers back up. And you know, she does make a good point. She said she didn't want a party. You know, this is not what she wants. But he's got the holiday blues, and everyone has. You know, he's still struggling to find a way to do the right thing for his family without it ending up being kind of about himself. You know, and that was like at the start of the episode, he did specifically say, I couldn't celebrate Christmas, now I can. You know, he didn't so much, and he even, yeah, he basically did decree, you know, that they were going to celebrate. And, you know, he's used to getting his way, including with his family. I think that does pretty well bring us to, but yeah, quite like the detail that her hair's a little messed up. I know, I want to talk. You know, like, they don't have to show it. We don't really have to, like, dedicate screen time to it, but I feel like, you know, maybe he, like, played with her hair, or just they were moving fast, or, you know, something. But yeah, her hair got a little messed up and remains that way for the conversation, helping sell the illusion, because, you know, obviously in reality they're actors. But yeah, that was a good choice by the makeup department and or director. I think that was about what there was. But yeah, very, very compelling when when, you know, yeah, Mr. Merlin, you know, yeah, Moira was like, you know, at least it's over now. And Mr. Merlin's like, no, Moira Queen, it has only begun.